Some paths don't appear until you're ready, and some people, ideas, and experiences will show up over and over again until you finally pay attention to your true destiny. Welcome to the Destined Podcast, where resistance softens and your new self comes into view.
With your hosts, Rahana Ali
and Terry Cyril.
So we've got another great topic today, don't we?
We've got an amazing topic today.
Amazing. I fully agree.
Amazing.
The rise of the divine feminine. I guess the history, where we've been, where we're headed, how this relates to the divine masculine. Yeah.
There's so many aspects to this.
So many. Yeah, there's a lot for us to cover. I guess, should we cover how it's divine feminine isn't just about it being about women, and that it represents qualities that exist in everyone regardless of gender?
Yeah. And it's regardless of gender, I think, like you said.
Yeah.
Regardless. Yeah, regardless.
Yeah, regardless of gender.
Regardless.
Yeah, we embody both divine and masculine feminine energy.
Yeah. And I think for somebody, because even those concepts are pretty abstract, I would say. I think being able to kind of maybe make it a bit more palpable or simple would be, I think, an easier way to understand it.
So
I've
yeah,
always,
like I guess the how one would recognize a divine feminine attributes.
or even what is that like from a masculine or a feminine perspective? Because I think there might,
Yeah,
for us, we've spent a lot of
yeah,
time
they
understanding
both
it.
have different attributes that define them.
Mhm.
So with the divine feminine, we're looking at, this like an energy of blossoming. So intuition, creativity, compassion, receptivity, emotional intelligence, nurturing, a connection to nature, cyclical thinking instead of linear thinking, collaboration rather than domination. Whereas the masculine energy, which again is not just men, it's just an attribute of that energy, is recognized more around logic and action, structure, discipline, competition. It's more of a competitive achievement, and protection. Protection's a big one, right? And it isn't that it's bad. It's just that we have an imbalance of the hustle culture and a focus on productivity and um, constant growth and winning and consumption without the reflection, rest, compassion, and creativity. So I think that defines um, the two energies.
But I guess what is it per se? Like,
What is what?
What are those energies inside of you at the end of the day? Is it inside of you? Are you just, embodying them? Are you just moving forward? And you're slipping between those different things.
Well, that's they are what make us human.
Mm,
That's the very makeup of our, our DNA maps,
mm,
right? Like our DNA recipe or whatever, you know. Um, we embody, it's part of us. We have
mhm,
both masculine and feminine energy. And, if there's an imbalance, um, we're going to lean towards the more negative aspects that come out of it because there's a, um,
it's a duality.
well, the duality is there, but without the duality, um, it's not considered duality if it's not balanced. And so if it's leaning towards one set of attributes more, it's going to it's going to have a negative connotation. There's going to be a negative outcome.
I guess it still doesn't quite. I get. I see where you're going with it. Um, and I think it might be. I've always at least thought of. I've tried to break it down, and I've thought about it in Jesus, flipping on my words there. In the sense of like where you might have, I don't know, like in your own makeup, you might have like two gases. So you can kind of think of it like hydrogen and oxygen in a way. Maybe hydrogen being the masculine and the oxygen being the feminine. And what you're saying is both of those gases have to be in balance in between inside of you in order to kind of enable you to be the best version of yourself, and to kind
Yes.
of move forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
but
you're gonna you can there's the divine feminine where it's compassion, receptivity, creativity, and intuition, but without that drive to be productive or like to actually go forward, those are the divine masculine attributes.
mhm,
So, you know, one without the other is just going to sit in the middle of the pond and not go anywhere, right?
mhm, mhm. But I would say in certain individuals, we aren't always at balance. There's always one more active than the other
Well, I
in
think
a
that's
way.
that's driven by where society is leaning. And so, if you've got, say, um, right, like um, back in the earliest known civilizations, goddesses were associated with life, fertility, and wisdom, and earth and whatnot. And so creation was viewed as sacred, and the earth was seen as a living mother, and women held respected spiritual roles. And so that changed. There was a cultural shift,
Mhm,
then as
mhm,
right, like it was a
mhm,
um right, like there was the rise of patriarchal societies,
mhm,
organized religion, right, becoming
mhm,
was um spearheaded that by being more male centered. Suppression of female leaders, uh big one, women's intuition being viewed with suspicion,
mhm,
um, rational thinking increasingly valued over intuition, right? Like um, we're going to get into like the witch hunts in a second here, right? And uh, industrialization rewarding productivity over nurturing, right? Like you can see where it's leaning towards um, uh, uh, diluting the divine feminine
mhm,
energies, right?
mhm, mhm,
Competition replacing cooperation.
mhm.
And it begs us to ask the question, did society become disconnected from half of its own wisdom? because, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because the imbalance is what has caused a lot of pain and destruction, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The witch hunts, like I said, where you could feel it coming on with that, um, like it's a strong symbol that stands out, right? Thousands of people, mostly women, if right, they were
Mhm.
accused of witchcraft across Europe and colonial North America, and essentially they were just, you know, um, in their divine feminine, being midwives and herbalists and healers, or they were just, they could have been autistic, right? They could have been neurodivergent or
Yeah.
something, and they just,
Yeah.
and the fear of feminine knowledge, this culture was created around the fear of intuition. Like they went from um, understanding intuition to now somebody's created fear around it, like they're questioning it, right?
Mm, mm, mhm. So with that imbalance and how things were I guess moving forward, it, it's sounding more like there was, like you're saying, that kind of cultural shift towards one gas or one aspect being more prevalent than the other.
Yeah, like the
Um,
pendulum was swinging towards the masculine
mm,
energies, which was the rise of, again, like that's really rooted in a patriarchal, that's patriarchy, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's the essence of patriarchy and really colonialism, right?
Mhm. And would you say like those were the outcomes of this swing? Like we ended up going towards colonialism, and we ended up
Yeah,
kind of,
absolutely. Yeah,
having these
100%.
different systems. And
I
as
it's
that
not
energy
even
was
what I
swinging.
think. I think that it's the proof is there. Like you can
Yeah,
see it from history, right? Like that's
yeah,
how it played out.
it's true. And that's how kind of things have now settled, um, at the end of the day.
Well,
Yeah.
we were meant to go through that. That was, as we've embarked into, I guess, Age of Aquarius, and this really is the rise again of the divine feminine, but with the balance, right? Instead of it being divine feminine heavy, like it's been divine masculine heavy in the before, we're headed into, from what I can feel and it looks like that it's not just like the divine feminine to dominate. It's that there would be a healing of the masculine energy, or the the healing of what has transpired from
Mhm.
what the patriarchy and our patriarchal uh, um, systemic damage.
Right. And that's because of the way, and I mean, this is how I've kind of viewed it. So it may not be 100% true, but at least I've tried to rationalize it this way, where I think with the move into, Aries and then Pisces, and through some of these astrological ages, almost like I think now, where I think most people agree that we're in the age of Aquarius now, and with that we've started, and I would say even with the ending of Pisces, we've started to see that shift into, you um
I mean, we're going to
into
be here for
yeah,
a few hundred years, right? So it's
or
not all
hopefully
going
longer.
to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not, it's not, it's not going to happen overnight, but we can see over the last few years, at least in the last 5 years, um, a healing beginning, and there's a rise in awareness of,
Mhm.
um, you know, uh healthy, the healthy masculine, right?
Hmm. Or the masculine what's that called? It's kind of we're reintegrating back into
Yeah, like there's a
our own
balance
selves.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebalancing in that sense. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Where there's a
And it,
relearn there's a like a relearning of what it means to be in
yeah,
your divine masculine, right?
that's it.
Um, acting with integrity, providing stability, being stable, being protective in a
Hmm.
healthy way, right?
Hmm.
Um, uh, understanding boundaries and being more um uh, and allowing for inspiration from the divine feminine, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Allowing for inspiration. Yeah. And connection, I would say as well too. That's a big one.
Yeah, like real connection
Yeah.
versus
Well,
what has been manufactured
yeah.
over time, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen um
Excessive use of pornography and
yeah, like uh fast love, so to
yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
Families not even sitting and having dinner together anymore. And,
Hmm.
like the sort of like the family unit, which we're returning to,
Yeah.
right?
We
Like
are.
they're,
Yeah.
um, and, once the business over presence that was celebrated and productivity over peace and independent over community, I feel like the community aspect is returning as well. And
Hmm.
um, there's a drive for success over fulfillment. Um, we're coming full circle with fulfillment, right? Recognizing what is personal success, right?
Hmm.
It's not just about the material, right?
Yeah.
And logic isn't always right when it comes to wisdom, right? Like wisdom is tried and true at
Yeah.
times, right?
Yeah.
So
Wisdom is tried and true. Yeah. But wisdom is always learnt, though. That's the,
that's just it. Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
been
It's
experienced and
embodied.
there's been a trial and error at some point in order for that wisdom to be credible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that in order to find that balance, both almost two individuals, almost, I would say, or two key players have to kind of come into um not contact, but almost work through their stuff to in a way. Like whereas you can't just have one person coming into, let's say, in a relationship as an example, half healed or working through their stuff, and then the other one refusing um, to even look at their issues or
Yeah,
address
but
them.
that's an individual relationship, right?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think when we speak in general about what's happening, this expectation of individuals, yes, we should all be doing the work on ourselves.
Hmm.
But when the society around us at large is set up in a way that you're set up for failure, right? Like it's really
Hmm.
challenging when even, somebody, you know, um, even as a woman who my divine feminine is my natural uh go-to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I am still I am still I'm s- what is the word I'm looking for? I'm still um biased or is it biased? Um but I without unconsciously I am still operating from what is a patriarchal way of living.
Hmm.
Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yeah. 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 It
Right?
does. Yeah.
So there's an undoing for the energy at large, right? So
Mm,
it's, expecting individuals, yes, we must, all of us take personal responsibility to question and do that. But the challenge that we're up against, and we're overcoming it because you're seeing
yeah,
it, like the pendulum
yeah.
is, starting to shift. Um, but if the society around you is, rooted in colonialism and patriarchy, and you've been born and raised into that, and you don't know any other way, or even like the subtle aspects of
Hmm.
patriarchy, right?
Hmm.
You can be, uh, a feminist to, the ends of the earth, but if all you've ever, you're not ever going to be 100% in your divine feminine either, right?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Well, I mean, adopting I guess, a political stance or an ideology, or even a way of living as such as feminism, isn't the way to get in touch with your divine feminine
No,
at
I
the end of the
agree with
day.
you on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really a balancing and healing of both, right? There needs to
Mhm.
be a healing of both, but that has to happen at a
You're saying at a
energetic level
societal,
at large. Yeah.
mm, at a much more at a conscious level. That's kind of true because I mean we've been talking a lot about work and how work structure and the corporate environment and capitalism and all those different aspects. Um, and here we're talking about slowing things down and being able to create that connection and being able to then create as well too.
Yeah, without losing the productivity and the drive and
Yeah,
the need and desire to produce, right? Like
right,
there needs to be
right.
that balance, but it, um, it's at the right now, or it has been at the cost of um diluting, right?
Hmm.
A watered down feminine energy, which,
Hmm.
we're really not at our peak potential.
Mm-mm. Well, we're not allowed to be at our
Yeah.
peak potential, I guess,
Yeah.
in a way, like you're
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
we're
saying.
very
Yeah.
restricted because that's uh the structure that's been, yeah,
But
it's
put in
very
place.
structured and rigid,
Yeah.
and yeah.
You have to show up to work at time and you gotta live and you have to hit certain expectations. It's like, no, I want to go travel or I want to go do this other stuff or whatever.
Yeah, and I think also the um it's been skewed. Like, what does power actually look like?
Mm-hmm.
Have we
Hmm.
confused strength with it having to be hard and direct?
Mm.
Not, like, having a negative view on vulnerability, and not recognizing it as being a form of strength,
Right.
and dismissing emotions and intuition, right?
Hmm.
And redefining what it means to be successful,
That's a big one. That's a
right?
big one. Yeah. Because most of us take cues from the patriarchal version of what success looks like. The money and the
Yeah.
cars and the
The
bling,
material side
the
of,
material
yeah,
side.
capitalism,
Yeah.
which is
And
rooted again in the patriarchal colonialism lifestyles, and
yeah.
this systemic damage of us being sort of um brainwashed, so to speak, to forget. And so now it's really, us coming back to remembering our essence, what we already embody, but aligning with it, right?
Well, that's it. That's it. It's it's kind of interesting where we've we've wanted to achieve, and we wanted to push the boundaries of technology. I think you kind of mentioned industrialization as well too,
Yeah.
so that productivity was the core of what um, we were all kind of moving towards. In fact, most of my training and through school has been all towards like how do we increase productivity through operations research, operations management, Lean Six Sigma. All these companies are built on these principles, and our way of living is even built off of these principles of how productive am I? Am I productive constantly? But the piece that we don't do is kind of that nurturing aspect of
Yeah.
life. We don't nurture ourselves or those connections, and
Yeah.
um,
I think we were meant to do this though. I think this has been the bigger plan all along.
mm,
So
mm,
without
the big
without
P, yeah.
yeah, without the industrial revolution and it leaning masculine energy, divine masculine energy heavy, um uh we wouldn't be where we are now, right?
Mhm.
Um and so I think the going where we are now and heading into the future is sort of a return to now we rebalance it, right? So sometimes there needs to be um an excess of something in order for you to propel
Mm,
in it, right?
mhm,
So I don't,
mhm.
as much as I say it's caused damage and whatnot, it's damaging in the sense that, we're living through the detriments of
Yeah,
it, right?
right.
But on the whole, it was needed for us to
Hmm.
be where we are today.
Hmm.
And so, with us being able, with building the technology, this revolution that we're living through, right?
Yeah.
In order for us to be able to fully not just sustain, but really be aligned with where technology is going and where the future is going, um, there is a recognition that the divine feminine is a requirement.
Mhm. I like that. It's a requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're talking my language.
Yeah,
What
because
are
I
the
mean, like
key
even like AI is a great
requirements?
example, right?
Yeah.
Like the question is constantly coming up, and I've even changed my stand on, you know, is AI conscious,
Hmm.
right? And there's
Yeah.
potential there that it
Hmm.
potentially is conscious. Like even though we give it consciousness,
Yeah.
it could potentially be conscious on its own at some point. Um, but you know, AI is mm, functioning not just from a divine masculine place, it's also being given
Has to
attributes of the
function.
divine feminine, if you think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. I mean, all the literature that it's been trained on even potentially I'm hoping some of the biases as well too that have introduced themselves through the users or even the ones quote unquote programming the AI
Yeah,
have
and I feel
led
like I
towards
think
some of
I'm
that.
safe in saying that it's a generation that's a whole generation that doesn't recognize those biases as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is all, you know, destined. It's divine
Yeah.
timing, right? How this is all playing out.
That's the name of our podcast.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. And you're right, because with the age of Aquarius and moving into the age of Aquarius, I mean, it from what I've read and what I've come across, it's also about increasing technology. It's about the push towards
100%.
making
Yeah,
life
that's what
better.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's really what
And
it is. It's the technology age.
yeah, literally the technology age now.
Yeah.
We think we've been doing technology before. No, no.
Yeah.
Not until you see
This had
what's
already been decided and it's already been set like it was in,
in
you
motion.
know, yeah, and I think from like a soul level, we chose to experience the different, I guess, kind of like a video game, a different levels, right?
The dichotomy of both in that sense. Yeah. Yeah, because how else would you have come to realize the benefit or what nurturing is? Let's just say I keep coming back to that. If you don't understand what the opposite of that, which was let's say productivity and not living with intuition, like you can't know one without the other in that sense. Like happiness isn't known until you've understood or gone through some sadness in a way. Like it's part of the
Or
experience.
I feel like that's more of an appreciation
Mm.
when you're not going to understand it if you've not experienced it. So if somebody's
Mhm.
gone through not having experienced empathy towards them,
Mhm.
they're not going to fully understand what
Empathy.
empathy feels like
Right.
to be empathized with,
Right.
right? There's an appreciation for it because they can see it outside of themselves, other
Hmm.
people experiencing empathy.
Hmm.
So again, that's going to, it's not within that individual's, um, they have to sort of, yeah, like it's going to be about their environment, right?
It
It's their
has to be.
environment that is going to need to change. And again, it's we're talking then about the environment at large, the energies at large.
Mhm. But if the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm and vice versa, in a way, that means that change has to begin with us in a way.
Oh, 100% begins with us.
Yeah.
Um, and it happens incrementally.
Mhm. Mm.
And it's no different than it's a subtle expression of our existence, right?
Right.
Um, just as we go through day to day, and before we know it, 10 years has passed, or 20 years has passed, and 30
Yeah.
years has passed. And there's this um subtle aspects in day to day that shifts within us because we're constantly shifting
Yeah.
that are creating uh the movement,
Mm.
right?
Hmm. Constants are
Because
creating
we weren't
movement.
we weren't
Yeah.
necessarily thinking and feeling this way when we were 5.
No, I
I
had other
mean,
things to worry
many
about.
of us started questioning. I mean, I know I was questioning things by the time I was a teenager, like I was 12,
Yeah.
13, even like 11, 12. I remember questioning things that, make a lot of sense to me now, what those questions were about, and
Mm.
intuition and downloading information and what have you. But nothing happens overnight. Okay, let me reframe that. Things can happen overnight, but something is like dramatic and on like a scale like this where it affects the consciousness of everybody on the planet,
Mhm.
that's not going to happen overnight.
No.
The only way that would happen is if like a meteor came and blasted Earth to smithereens.
And
Then
even
that would be a shared experience around the world that nobody would remember. So
that's
that's,
it. Or maybe we might in the
yeah,
other plane.
yeah. We'll be having deja vu on
The
in another timeline.
timeline. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just a collective sigh of,
yeah.
that's fair.
Do you ever get the
But
feeling that
how?
I was blown up on another planet? Hey,
Yeah.
I sometimes feel that one too.
Yeah. Wonder what happened there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, it's more of it's almost more of a temperature gauge than a temperature check. Like the gauge is moving, right?
Mhm. It always
Um,
has been moving. Yeah.
yeah, it's always been moving. It's been
Yeah.
subtly doing that.
Yeah.
And we feel like we're in control of that, but it's really again, um, there are for the most part, I feel like this was already um pre-planned and destined, and but we just get to choose the experience we have with it, right?
Hmm.
So we're in
Hmm.
choice, right?
Hmm.
We are sovereign and we're in choice. We have free will. Our soul decides and chooses which game it wants to
experiences.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. What
What
level and
story
what
it wants to
level?
have. Sorry?
Yeah, and what level of that
Yeah.
game you want to play? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's fair. Are there any steps that you've done where you're like, these are some day-to-day, almost practical things where it enabled you to kind of get back in touch with your divine feminine? Because I know you've kind of gone through a process from,
Yeah.
from what I understand.
Yeah, I looked back. I've done a lot of work on this over the years.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because even like when I've been working with my clients, that would trigger um
Your own healings in a way.
my own healing or
Yeah.
memory of areas in my life that I recognize. So I also grew up around the time when the women's liberation movement had started,
Yeah.
which when I was old enough, I started to really question what the women's liberation movement was, um, because that messed up a whole bunch of women in my generation,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, and I also saw that, that was probably not created by a woman. It was probably a man that it was his big idea to, because it was a patriarchal, very colonized way of
Approaching it. Yeah.
pushing the narrative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and that whole, needing to have a career. And I mean, in many ways it was fantastic, but in
Hmm.
many ways it set us back. And so I've looked back on a lot of that influence that it had on me, the influence that it had on the pressure for me to feel like, you know, I looked down my nose at a housewife.
Uh,
To me, my career was more important. Me having a career, and that was my priority. That said, I'm also like Capricorn sun, so that was a very, that's it's a very Capricorn thing of me to have been that way, but
yeah.
um, not, the idea of getting married. I would always just be like,
Mm.
I'd love to have children because I wanted to, create, you know, top tier humans. But it was right.
Yeah.
But the idea of being shackled to another, absolutely. But again, society, that was an expectation. And so we romanticized it. But again, the idea of being a mom or a housewife or a stay-at-home mom, which is an incredibly complex and important job,
Hmm.
right? Be
Period.
it the mother or the father who decides to
Yeah.
stay home, right?
Yeah.
It's huge. You're
Yeah.
raising the future and you're the CEO of your home. Like there's so much
Yeah.
that is, but not recognizing that as well. And
Hmm.
that a lot
Or
of
not
the
being recognized. Yeah.
are not being recognized. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also the to my detriment, the need to be completely independent. So if a
Mm.
poor man came along and wanted to do for me, like, oh no, I'm independent, like he's not gonna, and so really sort of like it was very looking back at ways where, you know, men didn't have a fighting chance. Do you know what I mean? Like they could do nothing right. Right? They're
Yeah.
being gentlemanly by opening the door, and we'd just be like, "Ugh, what do you think I'm weak and I can't open the door?" To coming full circle and going, fuck, miss when men were gentlemanly and they treated us a certain way with,
Hmm.
the women's liberation movement really,
Hmm.
I feel personally, had a lot to do with where the,
Changing those norms.
yeah, where we are now with,
Hmm.
um, so what I've done a lot over the years is reclaiming, I never lost it. So I never lost being
You never
feminine per
do.
se.
Yeah, you never do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but um over the years, uh life happens, right?
Hmm.
And you stop doing the things that you used to do. So, I was always drawn I returned back to coloring, right? So I started coloring mandalas in my
Mhm.
early 30s. I returned to that, like I think I was like, yeah, early 30s. Um, Learned to meditate. And a lot of that was just me being slowing down, right? Unintentionally not realizing, like when I was a teenager or in my 20s, just being like time just stood still all the time. You know what I mean? It was things
Mhm.
went slower and everybody's like, well, when you're 20, it does. But it did because we allowed it to, right? Like I'd go for long walks with my girlfriends and we'd
Mm.
talk about the world and boys and clothes and fashion and politics, and we'd be walking for hours, and that was just such a divine feminine thing to do, be in nature and just
Being a
be,
community. Yeah.
yeah, being in community. Like, we'd
Mm.
be down at the seawall and there's like tons of people around, or the amount of time I would spend to just love on myself, right?
Mm.
Like I was constantly, I had a full collection of perfume, which I always have.
Wow.
Like I can't say
Mhm.
that ever ended. But I remember there would be, times where I'd be sitting and trying new hairstyles and new makeup looks and, trying on different outfits. I remember my dad, he would know if something was wrong. Like if I'd go, like I was living at home and I'd go shopping and I'd come back home and I would literally do a fashion show of every, like if I bought a pair of shoes, every outfit those shoes
Check it
could
out.
go with, right? And my parents had to, live through that. And then, I remember, one time not doing it, my dad just kind of coming in, softly knocking on the door and, Brianna, is everything okay? Are you okay? Yeah. Yeah, but what? He's like, you didn't do a fashion show. And he goes, I saw you come in with big bags. You know what I mean? So, and there was a lot of that, right? There was a
Mm.
lot of just being, and it's not about the material. I just really loved on myself. I really,
Mhm.
really loved on myself. Like my night routine, my bath routine, my,
Mhm.
going for walks and my, um, it was
It sound
very,
it sounded like you were paying attention to yourself, like to your
yes.
intuition, to what you needed almost
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
moment.
And I would just lay around and listen to my music, right?
Mm.
And I would like sometimes I wouldn't even sleep. I'd be reading my books until, I finished them.
Two,
And
3 in the morning. Yeah.
yeah. And so, I mean, I think, somebody could argue and say, well, life was simpler then too, right? I mean, I didn't have any responsibilities per se. I had a
Mm.
job, right?
Mm. Mhm.
Um, look, the 90s were a real thing. We got a lot done in our day. We'd go to work, go to hit a nightclub, come home, read a book,
We're
get up, go to
educated,
work,
we
do rinse, repeat.
partied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, there was a sense of community then too, as
Mhm.
well, right?
Mhm.
And I
Mm.
think what's happened also, and I was really, I was very aware that I think I was ahead of things back then when I would
Mm.
recognize, like, I would see like my peers getting married, right? And, both are working, but, I'd see that my girlfriend is expected to cook and clean and still do everything. So she was doing
Mm.
double the work. She's now like, to me, I was like, she was like,
Superwoman.
well, that's what the label was, but it wasn't
Yeah.
fair because everybody was killing themselves to be super women
Mm.
when really they were just Dobie, the house elf, right?
Or they're being traded as Dobie. Yeah. Yeah.
Treated like Dobie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Dobie
Um,
have a shirt? Yeah. Or a
yeah.
sock? What is that?
Yeah. Give me a
Yeah.
sock so I can be free. Um, so I started to sort of see that. And
Yeah.
I really, backpedaled a lot, which is, probably why, you know, um, I was close to getting married a few times. And it was just, I just knew, you just know intuitively when somebody's not,
Mhm.
but that enough about that and me. But what I also recognized was, I was able to still be able to love on myself, whereas,
Mhm.
I may have missed out on I'm child free, right? I may have missed out on having children.
Mhm.
Um, but I didn't miss out. Like I was still able to still love on myself. Whereas
Mm.
I saw my girlfriends, their children became their priority, which there's absolutely
Right.
nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But because they were not, there was a generation of men around them. Um,
Mm.
and I didn't understand this because my dad was not like that at all. Like my
Mhm.
dad was very
Quote unquote feminist.
liberated, yeah,
Yeah.
forward thinking, right?
Yeah.
He helped my mom a lot, and there was a lot of, um, but I saw my girlfriends and
Mm.
relatives who they weren't fully supported by their partners,
Mhm.
which really, scared me.
Mm.
I didn't realize it scared me, right?
Mhm.
But I was not willing to give up um
Freedom. Yeah.
my freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I
Yeah.
wasn't going to sign up to be somebody's slave. Like the idea of like
Yeah.
having to touch somebody's dirty underwear and throw it in the laundry, like it just repulsed me, right? And maybe, I was being a princess or whatnot, but you know, and why not?
Why not?
Right? I was a princess then, I'm a queen now, but I was never a princess. I've always worked hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So nobody could ever accuse me of that. I've never been a princess per se. But it was the idea of serving another human in that capacity. There's a difference between if you love
There's
somebody
that
and you do
word.
for them,
Yeah.
right?
Serving. Yeah.
Than serving, right?
Yeah.
And there was this expectation in certain relationships. You could see it, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Oh,
And
you're gonna be
again,
staying at home? Oh, then you should be blah blah blah. Yeah.
yeah, or even when they had a job, they were expected
Hmm.
to,
Hmm.
right?
That's true.
I
Yeah.
remember being mortified in hearing stories of like,
It's
somebody
probably
saying,
worse.
my husband gets home before me and just sits on the couch and waits for me to come home to start dinner. And I'm just like, holy shit. Glad I got to,
Skip that bullet. Yeah.
I mean, I get, like they've created a life together and I'm not
Yeah.
judging people, even though I'm
Yeah.
judging people. Um, that's their life, that's their choice. And if that works for them, great. It didn't work for me. And definitely that was my well, it defined me, but it was
Yeah.
my divine feminine that was really speaking, coming through,
Mm. Mm.
right?
The sovereignty. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what I've done over the years is sort of return back to slowing down.
It's a
This
big one.
expectation of me having to be the man and the woman. A lot of that also happened when I was a caregiver for both of my aging
Right.
parents, right?
Right. Yeah.
That pushed me into the role of housewife. That is, not being
Mm.
that is Dobie the house elf, right? Um, don't get me, my parents appreciated me, but I
Yeah. Yeah.
was taken for granted a lot of the time because I
Yeah.
was, and that's another conversation
That's another story. Yeah.
we'll probably, discuss.
Yeah.
But the lack of support and being driven to multitask and being driven to you do lose yourself in that.
Hmm.
So the healing that's happened with that is just really getting back to just, getting not multitasking,
Hmm.
um, quietening
Single
down,
task.
slowing
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
resting,
Yeah.
loving on myself, getting back to the basics of,
Yeah.
and yeah, like that nurturing, right?
Mm. Nurturing. It sounds like I think you also, from what I remember, have been spending a bit more time in nature as well too. Like you've been
Yes.
kind of going back out and like
Yeah.
paying attention, like you said, back to your intuition and
Yeah.
like getting in touch with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Not going for walks with headphones in, which
Yeah.
I still do. I
Yeah.
mean,
Every
I'm
once in
gonna
a
be
while.
honest, right? Um, but also making a point of turning the music off, right? For me,
Yeah.
like my earbuds or my over the ear
Hmm.
headphones, um, it's more of a sensory thing. Sometimes I'll
Hmm.
just turn the music off and just listen to nature, right?
Hmm. And I feel like that's also like for the quote unquote men out there that are listening, that it's a very similar, I would say, approach of getting back in touch. If, that is the work that you're
100%.
doing is like listening to your intuition. I feel like for me, that was my biggest success that I've been able to kind of do over the last few years. It's literally taken me years, to be honest, of like paying attention to my intuition, acting on it, and then recalibrating. Like that's been my success formula, essentially, of whenever I do that, or whenever I have paid attention to my intuition, I've noticed that my life's taken a whole different trajectory that's a bit more fulfilling or a bit more fun.
And your
As a
root
result of that.
chakra is probably balanced because you're not sucking, you know, you're not taking from your partner. Your wife's,
Yeah.
your wife is balanced as well. Like you're not,
Mhm.
that imbalance where, you know, uh, if you're not balanced as a divine masculine, your root chakra is overly stimulated and
Right.
is taking from your partner's sacral
Yeah.
chakra,
Yeah.
and that's out of balance, right? That's a
Yeah.
big one, that I think a lot of people don't recognize that in partnership that has an influence as well. And
Hmm.
you know, even if you're single,
Hmm.
um, there's this, especially for a woman, right?
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
for us and our sacral chakra, when we're single and we have to be the breadwinner, we're doing everything for ourselves. Um, we've talked about this before, right? Where for the divine feminine to really flourish, um, she needs to have her basic necessities taken care of.
Yeah.
So if she's not worrying about where food is coming from and the bills are paid and there's a roof over her head,
Hmm.
she's going to flourish, right? And the only way
That's that
that
balance.
that's that balance,
Yeah.
right? And if she's expected to do it all, it's not going to happen. And I think one of the other things, like I look back on when I was living at home with my family too, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have any, like my parents, they spoiled us in the sense of we didn't have to pay bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was taken
Hmm.
care of, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
We're Indian, and so I was expected to
Yeah.
stay until I was married. And, you know, I didn't marry, I moved out. And they were totally, like they were fine with that.
It's a
But
different trajectory. Yeah.
my dad refused to take any money from me and just,
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about, anything. And so
Yeah.
I flourished in that environment, right?
Hmm.
Um, and
That's why the princess could come home.
yeah, like I'd rather work and take care of myself than
Yeah.
work and have to take care of somebody else as well. Like
Yeah.
that would have just, if I had married any of the men that wanted to get married, and anybody that's listening to this will, if they've caught on to who I am and they're one of the ex-fugitives, um, uh, one of us would have ended up in an orange suit. Do you know what I mean? Because it wouldn't have, yeah.
Hey, orange is the new black, so there you go.
Fair, that's fair, that's
So
fair, that's
cliche,
fair.
so bad. Okay. Don't sue
Well,
me.
I would have made it the new black for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, recognizing that, um, that expectation, and
Yeah.
also, like, um, nothing against neurotypicals, but that was what the rest of the village did. So
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
that
Of course.
happened, right? Right?
Yeah.
And when you're a village outsider, you're okay with not doing with what the village does
No.
to a
You
certain
want to
degree,
build
right? You want to be
your
part of the
own.
village, and so you
Yeah.
feel left out, right? So you try to mimic what the villagers do,
Yeah.
but it doesn't really pan out for you. So,
No. Makes you more miserable. Yeah.
yeah, until you completely sorry, that was my alarm.
That's it.
It's the ring my bell as well. Uh
Until you completely kind of break down. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or completely just step out of the matrix, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You
mean, it
almost kind of
pushes
have to
you
hit a
to that.
breaking point. That's what
Yeah,
happened to me, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
you hit a breaking point, and then you're
Move
you've
on.
gone from seeing things and people around you um differently
Yeah.
to now you're completely, like there's a bit of a veil that is starting to lift
Mm-hmm.
to it completely lifts, and you're like, I'm out. I'm out.
Mm-hmm. That's
I'm out, and I'm in my power, and I'm going in another direction where I'm meant to be creating.
mm, and living and fulfilling and
Yes.
all of those
Yeah.
pieces. Yeah,
Yeah.
that we talked about.
But your point about the recipe that's worked for you for the divine masculine is
Mhm.
fascinating because it's so true, right?
It
I
is.
think it's
And slowing down. That was a big one too. Yeah,
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 there's so much pressure for men generally in
yeah,
their
yeah,
divine masculine to perform at a certain level,
yeah. Build,
to
create.
produce and to create, yeah.
Yeah.
And creating from a productive place versus
Yes.
creating from a place
Soul.
of
Yeah,
essence, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. But that also came with a mindset shift as well too. I think that was the
Yeah,
key
you
piece.
took, I mean, kudos to you. You took the initiative to allow yourself to explore that, what that meant for you. What does that look like, or waking up to it, right?
I mean, I'm still learning, I'm still going through.
100%. And yeah, but we
Yeah.
all are, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
We all are, right?
Yeah, yeah. But, I mean, there's pieces or aspects I would say that are still challenging, like with boundaries. Boundaries are a big thing that I'm still learning and getting better at.
Yeah.
Um, and and being able to maybe, I would say, even act in full integrity in certain aspects as well too. And that's more in where I'm not in integrity with myself.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest aspect where I throw myself off. Yeah, yeah.
But that I think that same for me though. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's is um there's we're growing and evolving um in like at a monumental in monumental ways and monumentally um historic ways, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't have all the answers. We know what we just know from wisdom from our experiences, but mm, we can't expect to get it right immediately. Like that's just not
Mhm.
what is meant to happen. We're meant to have some bruises and cuts and
Mhm.
scrapes and experience both
Life.
sides of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Supposed to experience life. Yeah.
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 And I think with
So
that,
yeah, I feel like yeah, like we've really I feel like we're gonna come back to this because there's more on the
yes.
divine masculine. I feel like we probably should touch on as well. Because I
Mm,
mean, it is the rise of the divine feminine, and we're coming back and into balance because this time
mhm,
it's about restoring balance, right? But I also
mhm,
feel like there's a lot about the divine masculine that is misunderstood.
mhm.
And
Or
so perhaps
appreciate. Yeah.
we should talk about that
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah.
and
And
view
I
it
just,
as the rise of the divine masculine, but 2.0, right?
mm, or in support of the divine feminine. Yeah.
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 Because it's going to be a
Lots of,
balance, right? There's
it
a
has
balance.
to.
It's not this is we can't. So it's not just it's supporting, but it has to have its own place on the
Hmm.
podium,
That's true.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You need that equal lateral um
Equity.
balance, equity. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay. Well, Terry, as always, that was enjoyable. I'm
and likewise.
grateful. I'm grateful, and I thank you.
And I thank you. Well, signing off.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Some paths don't appear until you're ready, and some people, ideas, and experiences will show up over and over again until you finally pay attention to your true destiny. Welcome to the Destined Podcast, where resistance softens and your new self